Let's integrate Next.js with Drizzle and D1. D1 is Cloudflare SQLite database, which is very fast, and let's get it done very quickly. Let's start by installing Next.js and Drizzle and Cloudflare D1, creating Cloudflare D1. But there is a small caveat, which is you can't have, like, if you want to bind your D1 database, you will actually need to use Cloudflare pages. If there is a different way, please comment it down. But I haven't seen any docs for such, or I wasn't able to figure that out. So if you have any way where you can manage to do that, I think you can do that with Hono. But without that, probably you will need to use Cloudflare pages to do that if you're using directly with Next.js on server actions or API routes. So I'm currently going to install Next.js using Cloudflare pages so that it's a pre-demo. I'll record a video where if you want to integrate Cloudflare pages into your pre-existing Next.js project later. So let's get started. Firstly, let's grab the command from Cloudflare pages. So after grabbing, you can just paste this, and let me just do this as Drizzle D1 demo. And it has basically created this for us. And then let me just not have ESLint. Everything is cool except that. And now let's create D1 database. So make sure that you have Wrangler already set up before doing this. So if you don't have Wrangler set up, just do npm install Wrangler, or that will make sure that you have Wrangler. And currently this is setting up so that, like, I just don't want to deploy my application right now because there is actually a problem with deploying your application directly from here, because I haven't seen a way to connect your GitHub directly from Cloudflare pages existing project. So what I generally do is I go to Cloudflare pages and connect it through GitHub and then deploy it instead of doing it this way, because I felt I need to connect it to my GitHub just like Vercel. So I don't think this is really good way to do it. I don't know if they fixed it in new versions because they are doing some rapid changes. But as of now, you cannot connect your GitHub to an existing project which is already deployed. So let's say no, and this is done. So let me just cd into Drizzle demo, and here let me open in my cursor, and let's see. So I got my Wrangler and this basic setup done. Let me just create my pages, create D1. So if you don't have Wrangler, I think you must have already have by now. But if you don't have, you can just you can just check your Wrangler by doing this Wrangler version. So this will just give you a version currently. npx Wrangler, sorry for that. Yeah, I do have Wrangler installed. If not, it will just give that. And you can do npx Wrangler who am I, so that you basically connect it to your account and it will give permissions and everything. So that will be done. Once this is done, I think you should probably do it before creating or like while deploying. So once you run these two commands, you should be good to go. And now I can do npx Wrangler D1 create Drizzle demo db. So it will create a database for me. So let me just copy this and paste it here. And also add one thing, migrations directory equal to Drizzle. So basically we are just pointing it towards the migrations directory, which is going to be Drizzle, which we haven't added yet. And now let's install Drizzle. So for that, you can do npm add Drizzle orm Drizzle git. And till that is being installed, let's go to app, create server /db.ts and schema.ts. Let me just add some dummy data. So firstly, in Drizzle, you can just import D1 from Drizzle orm D1. So Drizzle next const export const db equal to Drizzle. Now you'll need to just pass the data over here. So the important part is you will need to make sure that this is properly types F and everything. For that, let's generate some types. So you can do this, run this command. So if you go into env.d.ts, it just gives you this command. So let me just copy that and do npx this. So yeah, you got D1 database here. So whatever the bindings you're going to add here will be generally added into this types so that it won't be a problem. So, oh, I guess it also added this CF type then. So you can just run pnpm CF types and so that gets worked out. And let's create one more type, which is globals.d.ts. So basically basic code, what it does is it will extend your process.env. So whenever you're looking for env and like querying over env, you can directly fetch this. Then if you now go into db and do process.env.db, see, it's already types it's giving d1 Cloudflare. Now you will need to add schema. So let me add the dummy data I was talking about. So it gave some data table, but it's not completely accurate because integer is, there is nothing called as completed. We can just change it to mode boolean. Yeah, now this should be working properly. And for auto increment, you can do, so you can just do auto increment true, and this will be done. And for created it, you can just have this cool default function and do this way. And if you want to update it, add integer. Oh, that's not the word. Yeah, do this. And you also need to do some changes to mode, timestamp, and even mode. And for updated it, you can also do on update function and new date. So basically, it handles the updates for you. Let me name it to do table, so that while querying it will be to do list table. And now I can import everything into this. So import as schema from schema, and then pass it over here. Schema. Cool. Now this is basically done. You will need to finally set up Drizzle config. So let me do that. .ts. So with Wrangler, you can, with D1 database, you cannot actually query your data from remote database. So if you are locally developing, Wrangler or Cloudflare will use Miniflare to create an SQL-led database on your local machine itself. So basically, you won't be querying from some remote server on the internet, but it will be from your local database itself. So to actually manage that properly using Drizzle properly on Drizzle config, like generating your config for local and for remote, let's make sure everything works properly so that while you're generating, while you're migrating, you don't have an issue, and while querying, like everything is smoother. So for that, you will actually need to get your URL from local. So I'll paste some code and explain you what it does basically. So cool. For this, you see get local D1 database. So basically what it does is it will go into Wrangler folder and get that database path, which I'm going to show you where it exists, and for local database. And so you see if if it is in production, it will just check your Cloudflare D1 account database and D1 API key to get your data, or else if it is local, it will just get the URL from here. So for remote, you will need to add these few things. One, just let's clear dev.vars and add these three things. But before that, let's configure this for local first. Let me just comment it out because initially while setting it up, there will be some problem with this. So the thing is, you don't have the .wrangler thing yet. So to actually make that work, you need to stop this. Firstly, generate the database. So, okay, let me actually add the let's add some, what do you say, scripts to it. So your first script is going to be to generate your migrations, and second script is just normal studio, and third one is to migrate locally. So you run your migrations for your local database, and this is running migration for remote database. So let's start with generating your SQL file. And here, actually, I did set that the out file is Drizzle, and like you can see, even here we set our migration file to be Drizzle, so it will create under Drizzle folder. Let me do pnpm db generate. So okay, so one thing is that it is under schema, so now it should work. Okay, so I think the file is under app. Let's just move it to src. So yeah, that was a problem as well. Let me just generate now. Yeah, it worked. Now this is there. Let's uncomment this thing. Probably it should work without that as well. I think without uncommenting as well, because it was just generating. So let me just do pnpm db migrate, and it will migrate. Yes, and you will be able to see your database right now. So you can see Wrangler. So what basically this does is it will go into your base bar.wrangler, and it will get your this data URL, the URL of this thing. Yeah, this one. So basically, yeah, I don't think this one. Okay, I don't think I can point to that. You know what I'm talking about. This, okay, but I'm not able to hover upon it. Okay, this one. So it has my database now. You can also check from pnpm studio. Sorry. So to run pnpm studio, you will actually need better SQLite 3, because it's not actually D1, but it is your local SQL. So you will need to have better SQLite 3. And you don't need anything for like it won't be needed actually for querying. If you don't need studio, that won't be needed to add. But if you want to check things locally, that's needed. Like the studio locally, that's needed. If not, it's not. So there will be this migrations folder, and you can see this folder as well. Cool. Now let's set up for production. For production, you will need these 3 values, which are, let's go into Drizzle config, see what are the values: account ID, database ID, and token. So database ID you can just get from here. Let me just copy and paste this. Cool. And let's get the other values. To get the other values, you should log in into your Cloudflare account. So let me do that. Then go to the top corner over here, click on my profile, and then click on API keys and create a token. And you can just use a template over here to if you want anything, but let me just create a custom token and delete later token, and let me just add some permissions to it. So account permission. So these 2 permissions are important, and any others might not be, and include resources accounts, or I can select some particular account. Then I can continue to summary. It will create a token. You can now copy this token and paste it here. Let me just see what was the name for that. Cloudflare D1 API token. So this is specifically for D1, and also I want to get account ID. So for account ID, you can just go back to your normal pages, click on workers and pages, and you can find your account ID over here. Like over here. If you click on overview, you can see it over here. Cool. Now this is done. Cool. Now it's already on production. You can check it from here. So you can go to D1 databases, click on Drizzle demo, and here this is Drizzle Studio. So I can click here, click on Drizzle D1 demo, and my database is here. Cool. And this is the SQL query the migration file we just ran. That's it. Thank you for watching. Subscribe.